Yo, how's it going everybody? Chadley here, and in today's video we are going to be updated Frosted Flak. This is our cryo-based rack build, and this build has actually changed quite a bit since our last iteration, and I honestly think these changes have made it a million times better. Now, we are making this a urad build, so we do not have a health gate anymore, and now you guys might be thinking, racks plus urad equals super squishy flak. And that's actually not really the case. I tried this with just going a normal red and green tree build with a lot of health regen and stuff, and I actually am tankier now than I was with that setup just because I can kill enemies so much quicker, and I highly recommend doing a urad version and just playing super aggressive. You guys are actually going to be clearing a lot quicker, killing a lot quicker, and staying alive better. So let's go ahead and start with the hearts of our gear here, and more specifically the frozen heart. We're going to be using the frozen heart with the action skill start anointment on there. What that is going to allow us to do is instantly freeze enemies in a large radius around us, and that is going to combine with our icebreaker deathless. So we are going to do more damage to those frozen enemies, and you guys would actually be surprised how many bosses could be frozen. Like in the Slaughter Star, the big robots can actually be frozen, which is pretty cool, and you can do more damage against them. And it's just really good for mobbing and staying alive because the enemies cannot shoot you when they are frozen. Really, cryo heavies are like the main thing you're gonna have to look out for with this build. That and barrels are definitely your two biggest threats. Otherwise, you're gonna be killing all the other enemies so quick and they're just gonna be frozen that they're not gonna have a chance to shoot you, and you guys are gonna have no trouble staying alive. Passives on this build really don't matter, except for on your Icebreaker Deathless. I highly recommend trying to get the area of effect damage passive in either the second or third slot, because for whatever spaghetti reason, if it's in the second or third slot, it's actually going to boost the radius of your Frozen Heart Nova. So that is just something to keep in mind, and I definitely recommend going for that roll. If it's in this first slot, it's not going to give you the radius. If you want to take it a step further with our Cosmic Stalker, which is going to be our main class mod for this build, you can get splash damage radius on there to increase that radius even further. So that way you guys can be freezing enemies from like a mile away, and they're never going to get a chance to shoot you. And overall, it just really helps with your survivability if you can get these passives. Everything else really doesn't matter that much. On your Cosmic Stalker, definitely try to go for 3 big game and 2 interplanetary stalker. That is definitely the best perk roll for this class mod. You guys can also use a rack pack or a bounty hunter with this build, but the Cosmic Stalker is definitely going to give you the best damage output possible. So let's go ahead and finish up our utility gear. Our grenade is going to be a Mitosis Hunter Seeker. You guys can spam this and make sure you have racks up at all times, because times when you do go down that aren't barrels are going to be when you don't have any racks to cast. So if you throw these periodically, it's going to help keep head count going and make sure you always have a rack to cast and freeze the enemies around you. Just have different bonus elements of the Hunter Seeker, usually just 1 for each, and you guys will be good to go there. But now let's go ahead and move on over to our weapons. Our main mobbing weapon for this build is going to be the Hellwalker. This thing just hits so hard. It can do all content, including true Guardian takedown. Just get this with the urad anointment and you guys will be destroying everything. You guys can also be using a reflux if you really want to. It's completely up to you which one you want. I just really like using the Hellwalker with this build. Now for our second slot, I like to have a normal damage light show or a normal damage smog, just something enemies are not really immune to. With the urad anointment, this is going to be really nice for taking out single targets. And if you guys have a smog, it's gonna be really good at taking out single targets at a distance, but the light show is going to be doing more damage than the smog. But in general, this slot can be changed out for any other weapon that you guys really want to be using, but I just really like those two the best. Now for our third slot, this is going to be our boss killing weapon, so just have it be whatever element for the type of boss that you are fighting. For basically all content that involves a armored boss, I really like to use a corrosive convergence with the urad anointment. Normally, I like consecutive hits better, but since we only have 1 bonus element between our shield and our grenade, I do like to have urad on there. It definitely feels like it helps a little bit more. I will take this off if I'm doing like true Guardian takedown, and I will put either on a corrosive monarch with the urad anointment or a corrosive light show with the urad anointment. The light show and the monarch are definitely going to be hitting harder than the convergence in a lot of scenarios, but sometimes the convergence can actually just put out insane damage, especially on like Wotan. It absolutely destroys him. Now finally, let's go ahead and take a look at our final slot. This is going to be a urad plague bearer. I highly recommend getting a shock and a corrosive version. because during like true Guardian Takedown, this is actually going to be your boss killer. So when you're on the armored portions of those bosses, switch over to the corrosive plague bearer and shoot that at them. It kills them way quicker than using like even a monarch. And then this is also insanely good for just mass mobbing. When there are a ton of enemies like the Guardian Takedown or the Maliwan Takedown Bridge, you're gonna have to pull out the plague bearer and just spam this around, and it will murder everything for you. And you guys can just keep casting your frozen heart novas and make sure everything freezes so you guys can stay alive while murdering everything. Now, sometimes for this slot, if you guys want to get super toxic, you can go ahead and put on a face puncher with the urad anointment, because the novas that you're doing are going to build up groundbreaker for you. So you guys can actually get some crazy groundbreaker procs when using the face puncher. I do find the plague bearer better in most scenarios, but you can use this face puncher with groundbreaker to good effectiveness when combined with the frozen heart. Now it's time to jump into our skill tree. I'm gonna have all 3 trees here right now if you guys need to copy it into your game. But otherwise, let's start here in the hunter skill tree. This is pretty standard for most flak builds right now. So we're gonna be doing 5 interplanetary stalker, 3 leave no trace, 5 hunter's eye, 3 head count, 3 big game, 3 most dangerous game, 1 galactic shadow, and 1 megavore. Now for this tree, we're gonna have 4 more points to spend. I have those 4 points into second intention. This is awesome, especially when using the hellwalker. It's almost instant reloads, and this is also a hunter kill skill, so it's gonna be boosted by big game and the cosmic stalker, and overall just the reload speed gets ridiculous. Now if you guys want as much damage as humanly possible, take those 4 points and move it over to Grim Harvest. The gun damage is really not the reason we do that. It'd be to make the racks do even more damage, but they already do a good amount of damage. Like in base Mayhem 10 play, they're going to be one-hitting everything anyways. And then in scaled up activities like true Maliwan Takedown, you're not really going to notice a huge difference in the rack damage. I've tried both, and I definitely find myself always going back to second intention with those 4 points. Now, obviously for this build, we're going to be using rack attack, and then the only augment that I have on at all times is rack accelerate for that extra charge. And the other augment, I will swap between rack open a cold one and flock and load depending on what kind of enemies I'm facing. If I'm facing a lot of armor, I will put on rack open a cold one and turn them into cryo. And then if I'm facing a lot of flesh enemies, I will keep flock and load on. Now moving over to our master skill tree, we need 5 points to get down to frenzy. These first 5 points aren't really gonna help us too much. So we're just gonna do persistence hunter and get a little bit of gun damage out of it. And then the next 2 points are just gonna be into the other skills just so we can get down to frenzy. We're gonna max that out. That's a huge damage boost. 1 point into he bites to proc up frenzy, 1 point into who rescued who so you can help keep your pet alive, 3 points into hive mind for some damage mitigation, 5 points into barbaric yacht so we can boost the bonuses that our great horn skag gives us. We get 15% damage and 30% gun damage, and then 3 points into pack tactics. This is a huge damage boost, and then finally 1 point into shared spirit for even more damage mitigation. Now finally for our stalker skill tree, we're gonna put 5 points into furious attack. This is a huge bonus to our gun damage. 5 points into overclocked. The fire rate actually makes a really big difference, especially with the hellwalker. You actually really notice this skill. And then finally 1 point into lick the wounds. In case we go down, our pet can pick us up and makes your day a lot easier. You're gonna have to restart different takedowns and stuff like that way less. Otherwise for this build, guardian ranks really don't matter. You don't need any of the skills to be on. You can have whichever ones you want. And then for our modifiers, I really like Speed Demon, Healy Avenger, Drone Ranger, and Postmortem. This is my ideal setup for modifiers. So as always with our build videos, we're gonna run through the start of the Maliwan True Takedown with this build, and my bonus element on my grenade is just bonus corrosive. This is what I always use in the Maliwan, and most of the Guardian Takedown during the Necrodefeo mobbing section in there, I'll change this over to Incendiary. But most of the time for takedowns, it's going to be bonus corrosive on our Hunter Seeker. But let's go ahead and jump right into it. All you guys got to do is just cast your racks and make sure to freeze everything. And then also make sure you guys are killing your jetpack commandos. They are going to hurt you the most. And right there, you could see how far away we were from that jetpack commando, and we still were able to freeze him. That's how ridiculous the radius on the Frozen Heart can get when you guys have the right passives on your class mod and artifact, but mainly focus on the artifact's AoE being in the second and third slots. Now, when you guys want the easiest time mobbing, just go ahead and pull out your Plague Bearer to keep casting racks, throwing hunter seekers to keep the racks coming, and you guys will be freezing and murdering everything there is. And you guys will have absolutely no troubles. As you guys can see, I'm barely taking any damage here because enemies don't even have a chance to shoot me. They're just getting destroyed or frozen before they can even have a chance to shoot. Now, one thing to keep in mind with this build, for whatever reason, sometimes when enemies, right when they spawn, they cannot be frozen sometimes. Sometimes they can, sometimes they can't. So just make sure you guys are aware of that mechanic. But otherwise, for our Kraken here, we're going to go ahead and spawn him. And then make sure we're going to back up first just to play it a little bit safe. You guys could just run right in there and probably take it down or get cryoed and then sniped. But it's really not a big deal if you go down. Just go ahead and wait it out a little bit for the Kraken to come out. And what you guys can do is actually freeze the Kraken and just run behind them with your convergence or whatever armored boss killing weapon you have, and you guys will be good to go. So yeah, guys, that's basically Frosted Flak, new and improved in a nutshell. If you guys do happen to go down while learning how to play this new play style, you guys are gonna have absolutely no issues getting back up with how much damage we're putting out, especially with like the Hellwalker and the Light Show and the Plague Bearer. It's ridiculous how quick you can kill these enemies. If you guys have any questions on the build, make sure to let me know in the comments down below or come over to our stream. We stream every single night, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you guys have. But if you guys did enjoy this build video, make sure you guys leave a thumbs up on it to let me know. It really helps me out. And if you guys want to catch more Borderlands content, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. But I hope you all have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next video. See ya.